here we are coming together to focus on the essential 7 C's to be the best leader through lockdown 2.0, and in fact take these leadership tips into December and beyond. So what I wanted to start with is my favorite equation from which so much stems, particularly at the moment, which is our equation for success. So this is ever so simple, but less simple to do, but ever so simple to write down. So do take notes as we go. So this is our equation of be times do equals have. So what do we mean by that? What we mean is if to end up having what you want to have, it's a combination of who you are being and what you are doing. So it's a product of those two things, which is why I've got that multiplication sign. So a lot of the time we're very focused on what we need to do. I'd say in the last 4 days, people have been very focused on what they need to do before the non-essential shops shut down, etc. But we also need to make sure we're focusing on what, or rather who we need to be. When I'm saying about being, that's where I'm thinking about what's our attitude, what's our mindset about this? What are we projecting as leaders as we go about our work, as we have those conversations, as we bump into people? How are we being? What's the intent behind what we're doing? Being can also stretch into what's our skill set. So what knowledge are we bringing to the party? What skills have we got? But absolutely about how we're exuding ourselves, how people are experiencing us as leaders. Now, the great thing with this equation is the more being you are, or the stronger you're being, and the more doing that you do, they multiply up to give you more, so that you end up having more. So if you've got a score, if you're like 1 on be and 1 on do, 1 times 1 is 1, you're going to have 1 amount of having. If you've got 5 on be and 5 on do, we've got 25. 5 times 5, 25. We've got a lot more having. If we can get it up to 10 on doing and 7 on being, we've got 70. So we've got this opportunity to maximize what we can have. And this works at home and in personal lives as well as in business. And it works backwards too. So if you haven't got what you wanted to have or what you thought you were going to get, then we need to look back and go, okay, what do I need to do differently, or who do I need to be differently? So if you're not getting the sales through the door, the marketing isn't bringing in the leads, or the leads there, but the sales process isn't converting what you want, we need to look back at, do you need to do something different in those processes? Or do you need to have a different approach, a different mindset, a different attitude as you're going through that? So it's really powerful. It's a very honest equation. I think most powerful actually working backwards. If you've ended up not with what you want, then how can you improve? Our session today is very much about the being. It's all about the being, a little bit of doing at the end, but really we're focusing on who are you being as a leader through this lockdown 2.0, but also beyond, because quite frankly, leadership has been key throughout this year. So why am I so passionate about leaders and our leadership style? Because as a leader, you're never creating a neutral impact, I would suggest. As a leader, people are looking to you. Your team are looking to you if you have team. If not, your customers are looking to you. They're taking direction from how you are. And you can either be shining a torch and creating brightness and light and enthusiasm and resilience, all those positive things. You can either be a light for them, shining the way forwards, or you might end up being a shadow where actually, if you get the wrong side of it, the shadow is greater than the person you are. So either the light you shine is bigger because it's multiplied by the impact of it touching all your team members and customers, or your shadow ends up bigger, and that's a negative shadow I'm imagining in this situation. So just have a think for a moment. Are you casting a light beam, or are you casting a shadow? Because it's very rare a leader is doing neutral, as in creating no impact. And oftentimes we're not aware of the impact we do create. people notice you as you walk through the office when we're back in offices. Who do you stop to talk to on the way to your desk? And they'll take meaning from that. What do you actually do? It's not what you say you're going to do or what you say others should do, but what do you personally actually do? People will be taking notice of that. And is that a light beam or is that a shadow? So really be aware of your leadership and observe that, even get feedback on that to make sure these days you absolutely, the best place to be is shining a beam of light for your business, for your family going forwards. So step one for me, and our first C, is focus on what you can control. So first C is C for control. Here's our circles of influence model here. And at the middle is the circle that we can control. These are things we can make decisions on. We can decide how we show up each morning. We could decide what's for our business. Are we open or closed? Some of us can, some of us have to be closed. Others of us can decide, are we in the office? Now we have to be out of the office. How are we doing that? Are we video, video Zooming and team meetings? Are we doing it by phone? How are we doing this? Are we going to do some one-to-one walkouts? Because that's a great thing, we can do that this time. But we've got control of that. We've got control how often we're going to communicate with our clients. We've got quite, when we think about it, we've actually still got quite a bit of control. So let's focus on what we can control. Outside, the next layer out is the area that we can influence. We can't totally control it, but we can influence it. So that is worth spending a bit of time on. If I feel I can influence people to be stronger through this in my world, absolutely I want to do that. I can't control it, but I can influence it by putting on events like this. So what can you influence by working with others, talking with others, allowing things to happen? How can we influence things? That's another key place to play in. The outside of that is this area which becomes a circle of concern. We might be concerned about things, but we actually can't control them. We might be concerned, potentially this lockdown could last longer than 4 weeks. Who knows? It could go beyond the 2nd of December. There's no point in worrying about that. We can't control that. We might be concerned about which way the American election's going. We've got absolutely no control or influence over that. So we just have to park it. That's sort of wasted energy if we start worrying about things that are in the area that are beyond our influence or control. So I'd say, when you're looking at your to-do list, when you're analysing, what's on your mind, if we can identify what is in your control, absolutely prioritise that. If it's within your influence, that's valid to be spending time there. But anything beyond that, there's outside of your area of concern, outside of your area of control, then park it. It's no point in worrying about it, using up your precious energy, because you can do nothing about it. All we can do is get ready to react when decisions are made and they become in our circle of control. So first C is control. Focus on what you control. My second C is about building confidence. This starts actually by building confidence with ourselves. It's really difficult to project confidence unless you're a brilliant actor or actress, if you haven't got it yourself. So think about how confident you are at the minute and what would help increase that confidence. How confident are you about the business, about your plans? And take actions to build that confidence, speak to others, build plans that are going to take you forward, understand the options, the funding, the different situations, so you can get yourself in a position of confidence. Yeah, I know what I'm dealing with here, and I've got a plan, and I believe this is going to see us through. So start with yourself. Also, as you're starting with yourself, also identify what's holding you back. Where have you got some fear, which we call false expectations appearing real? At the moment, there's quite a lot of fear out there. Things that we are imagining might happen that could be negative, but actually they haven't happened yet, and they may well not happen. It's just our brains trying to protect us and stop us from being hurt, but actually it sometimes has the reverse effect because it holds us back from taking forward momentum. So identify what's causing you fear and be very logical about, actually, can we park that as well? Because we know that's not the case. It hasn't happened yet. Let's stop projecting negativity, get confident with ourselves. When we're confident with ourselves, then your job is to build confidence with your team. You know, tell them what the plan is, tell them why you're confident, because you've got information probably that they don't have. They don't know what, you know, permutations and combinations you've been working through for the business. Share some of that. You know, we've got a what if here, we've got a plan A, B, and C. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do this. We've seen this opportunity. We're going after that. So really share some of that so that the team can get confidence from you. You then want confidence with your suppliers and your networks and your customers. So we want to be projecting positive things on our social media posts. We want to be projecting confidence about when we're going to be reopening if you're shut, or how you're keeping open. We want to build confidence about the safety of transacting with you, whether that's in person or click and collect or however it might be. A lot of the communication needs to be about building confidence. With your suppliers, you want them to be confident you're still going to be in business. They're still going to supply you, give you the credit terms that you've got, etc. So that aura of confidence, not overconfidence or arrogance, but quiet confidence is really important when it comes to leading your business. So that's our second C, building confidence. Our third C, this is my favorite picture in the whole deck here, is keep calm. Keep calm and carry on, but keep calm. So there is nothing that's going to undermine the confidence you've just worked so hard to build if you're running around flapping away. We need to be swan-like. I love the image of this swan. So really cool and calm and elegant on the surface. Now underneath, we might be paddling pretty hard to get done everything we need to get done in our business, because we might be making changes, pivoting yet again. So we're paddling really hard, but let's exude a sense of calm on the surface. I've never seen a panic looking swan. They always just glide past, don't they, very elegantly. So keep calm, because also we think best when we're calm, and people will again take notice, think back to our light beam or our shadow. People will take notice how you being, and they'll emulate that. So you be calm, everybody else will be calmer around you. So third C was, I think that was, we're up to third for the calm. Now, clarity. You'll go, yes, Helen, clarity right at the moment. What clarity have we got? Well, it's our jobs, I believe, as leaders to create clarity where we can. Where there are decisions to be made, we need to make those decisions. Floating around in limbo land really is unhelpful to our teams and to those we interact with, clients, etc. So to reassure you, and you will be making decisions with incomplete information. But sometimes we can just make a call. We can make a call. Actually, no, we don't know if we can keep doing this or we can't keep doing that. I'm going to make a decision. We're just going to stop doing it because I'm not sure we can. I'm not sure we can do the balance. We're going to stop doing that. We'll focus our energies on where I'm confident we can keep going over here. You've just created some clarity. We've got an event, 11th of December. Can we do that face to face or not? No idea. But what I can do is make a decision. I can make a decision to say, no, actually, it's too risky. The impact on everyone to rejig themselves, the agenda and everything else is too much. I'm just making the decision. It's going to be, a Zoom event, not in person. Well, much though we'd all love it to be in person, I personally am beginning to think that's probably less likely. And I'm going to create some clarity so we know what we're working to, and we can make a better online event if we know that we're doing an online event. So that's what we've done. We've made that decision. We're going online. So for those of you going, Helen, but there's so much lack of clarity here. Here's a couple of inspirational quotes. A wrong decision is better than indecision. So actually making a decision, it might turn out not to be the best decision. But at least when you've made a decision, people know where you're going and they can go after it. If it down the line turns out to be completely the wrong decision, you have to stop it and reverse out of it. Play the humble leader, go, yep, we made it with incomplete information, got it wrong, pull back, we're going this way. But at least there was clarity for that moment they were going that way, and now they're clear they're going that way, rather than this, what are we doing? I don't know if I should be doing this or this. And then I like this one from Tony Robbins: stay committed to your decision, but you might need to be flexible in your approach to it. So for me, that's stay committed to the end result. You've decided you're going to do that. You might need to take a few extra tacks on the route there. The journey, the route could vary to get you there at the moment, but know that is the decision you made and that is where you're going. Maybe timing changes, maybe the nature of how it happens changes, but you're staying committed to that decision. So when you are facing some questions from the team, questions from customers and suppliers, etc., really challenge yourself. Could you make a decision here? Obviously within the legal constraints we're operating with at the moment, but potentially you could go with the more cautious approach, make the decision, and then work on really amplifying the benefit of that, making it work as well as possible, having created that clarity. So clarity. Our next C is very much linked, but is around creating certainty. There's been lots of research over many decades, probably centuries actually, around the fact that we all have 6 basic human needs. And at the top of that list is certainty. Also in that list is variety, which sounds a bit at odds with certainty, because you could say that's sort of uncertainty, but it's variety, having some variation. Having a sense of being significant, having a sense of significance, that what we do matters, who we are matters, what we're about matters, and we're creating some impact, a positive impact. Having connections with people. Human beings are, we like connected, we're designed to be connected, we're herd animals, if you like. That connection can be love or friendship, but that's why loneliness is such a issue, especially at the moment in lockdown and stuff, because it's going against that need for connection. We also have a inbuilt need for growth, for improvement, for progression, taking things forward, and finally a need to contribute to society, to support one another, and contribute beyond ourselves. So these 6 things are the basic human needs that for us to be feeling fulfilled need to be met. I was looking it up. Anywhere you look it up in the internet, everything starts with certainty at the top. So somehow as leaders, we need to be creating certainty. And that's been defined as the assurance you can avoid, or why we want certainty as human beings is because we want to avoid pain and gain pleasure. It's the certainty that we can avoid pain and gain pleasure. So as leaders, we need to be thinking about how can we do this in this environment. So how can we create certainty for our customers that we are open or not open, or we're available, we can do it on this days but not this days, or we need to be very clear around what we're doing, what we're not doing, so they know that if that's giving them pleasure, they can get it there, or if they're avoiding pain. So for your teams, for all of them, wherever you can create certainty by making decisions, that is going to benefit them and improve the effectiveness. Our next C cannot be underestimated is communicate regularly. Absolutely key is this communication, because in the absence of communication, clear communication, people just make it up and you get rumour, myth and all sorts of other things that are incredibly unhelpful, difficult to manage and difficult to put back in a box. So here's some thoughts for you around communication. The impact of our communication is what we take away from communication. Only 7% of that is words. So when we send written material out, this is if we send an email or a text, the recipient is only getting 7% of our communication. And that's why it's so easy to have people misinterpret your meaning when they get an email. You get an email or a text, you go, what? That's why you should never, ever, anything highly emotional, anger, you know, any complaint or that, it always comes out far worse when it's written, because what you haven't got is any of the tone or the body language. So 38% of our communication comes from tone. So when we're using a phone, we've got tone and words. It's a much richer communication. We get much better sense of what the real intent is behind that. And then to get the complete communication, we need the 55% via body language. So body language is the expression. It might be your hands. Here I am busy waving my hands. But the expression on faces. And that, I think, is part, you know, something to be really aware of at the moment. With everybody wearing masks, you've lost the mouth body language, if you like. You can't see the smiles, you can't see they're probably going on underneath the mask, but we can't see it unless you're wearing a clear one, which is, you know, most people aren't. So when you're thinking about communicating, just be really conscious. The most effective communication is where you're communicating with words, tone, and body language. And the most dangerous, I say, or risky for misunderstanding is if it's just written, because that's just words. Now, there's practicalities around this, because obviously if you're just sending an email, you can send that to lots of people all at once, or a flyer, or any of that sort of marketing material. When it's written, that is easy to send very broad. To get a full body language, tone, and communication to everybody is more challenging. Now, a lot less challenging, thankfully, with the use of video and Zooms, etc. We can do that more broadly, but sometimes we are restricted to just words for practical reasons. But then just be really careful. Can this be read it, reread it? Could this be misunderstood in any way, shape, or form? So we've understood those different elements of communication, and then I've just thrown up here all these different ways we can communicate people. I've talked about some of these on the way. It's around just choosing what's the most appropriate method of communicating for what your message is and who you're communicating to. If you're having a one-to-one with somebody, you'd never have that just text. Imagine it, we're having a one-to-one on I don't know, a chat, messenger chat or something. No, that would be impossible. You'd always do that minimum by phone. But to be honest, now with the technology, why wouldn't you do all your one-to-ones with a video, so you can truly feel that connection? So team meetings, often they can now be done, you know, with the video as well. It's funny, having done so much on Zoom. I was on a conference call, kind of group of people on a phone. I haven't done that in years. And it felt really quite weird not being able to see people. And you just need to be more conscious about how you're communicating. So some thoughts there in terms of what method you use and being aware of making the most of these. And if you are on words only, just really check them. So that was our next C. I think we're up to about C number 5 with that one. Are we up to C number 5? 6. C number 6. That's right. So our last C, number 7. Speak with candor. At the moment, I'm sure you've noticed it. Building trust at the moment is really important. I would say certain organizations are probably getting less trust as this whole COVID situation is moving along. But as we do business with people and with our team, we absolutely need them to be able to trust us. And you trust by being open, honest, and speaking with candor. Interesting, I was looking at this, and there is a formal requirement or position, if you like, certainly in the care industry, around this duty of, it's called the duty of candor. And I thought it was interesting to look at this and then see how we can look at that in our business world. So the duty of candor is, one, absolutely being consciously open and transparent in everything we do, in our communication and what's happening, etc. If things are slowing up in the business, then tell them it's slowing up, because you know what, and in all my experience of years and years working in major organizations and HR roles, what transpired every time was line managers might be reluctant to be transparent about maybe changes that were coming up, what was going on in the team. The team knew already. You know, they've got the most superb antennae about picking up what's going on. They can see orders slowing up as they're coming through the business. They can see them accelerating. They can see what's going on outside. They're not stupid. So when we hold back, in my experience, people are holding back from being fully open on the sense that they're protecting their team from, you know, challenging news. But in reality, the team are kind of there already. And then it's just damaging because you've got this kind of elephant in the room that you all know is going on that nobody's talking about. So being open and transparent in a right way, I say the right way in terms of the glass half full way rather than glass half empty way, but being transparent is absolutely essential at the moment to maintain that trust. And then the second half of this is in the care world was communication on notifiable safety incidents. And I was like, okay, so how do we relate that to business? Well, I think we can imagine quite a number of things that might be a notifiable safety incident. That might be the loss of a key client. It might be some issues in supply, getting the materials you need that is going to delay things and impact customer satisfaction. It might be the inability to trade for 4 weeks, or the switch that you're going to do. So the bad news, if you like, or the near misses are still worth communicating, because that's going to build this transparency and openness. And what you're going to get back in return is transparency and openness from your team to you, or from your customers to you. So speaking with candor, I think is absolutely essential to build and maintain trust in these challenging times. So those are our 7 C's. So focus on what you can control, build confidence, keep calm like the swan, create clarity and certainty through making those decisions, and communicate clearly and frequently, and operate with candor. And then I said at the beginning, that's all about the being, and I would just touch on a couple of doing things to help you over these next few weeks of lockdown 2.0. So let's just finish up by taking a look at that, because when from our leadership, it's absolutely about being, but it's also about being forward looking, directing that business, looking around the corners. That's how you're going to build the certainty for yourself to then give that to others. So I highly recommend, things are changing so fast at the moment, is that you stop and do a SWOT analysis. So what's a SWOT analysis? This is a strategy tool for a business. It's where you just stop, take breath, look at your business through a really honest lens with candor, to say, at the moment, this week, in this environment, what are the strengths for my business? And really, you know, even I know some of you are going to be closed down at the moment, but you've still got strengths. You've got a brand presence. You've got loyal customers. There's some strengths there that are going to be there. They were there last week. They're going to be there when you reopen. Those strengths are still there. So really think hard and list out, what are all those strengths you've got? What are the weaknesses? Where are you weak at the moment? That's really interesting to see this lockdown versus last lockdown. A number of people had a weakness. They weren't online. They couldn't communicate easily with people, and people couldn't buy from them when lockdown was there. Interesting how many organizations now have got a click and collect offering, or an online offering now that they didn't have before, because they've taken the time in between to fix that weakness. So it's now a strength and they can benefit from that. So what weaknesses have you got now that actually, especially if you're locked down at the moment, you can use that time to build and remove that weakness by building something in its place. So the strengths and the weaknesses are more focused internally to your business. And then look externally at what opportunities present themselves. What opportunities are out there at the moment and will be there as we go in the run up to Christmas? I think the seasonality is really interesting. We're in a different season now to when we were in the March, April, May, June lockdown. As we come up to Christmas, we've got different problems are out there. Customers, as I always say, people only buy things to solve a problem. That's the only reason we part with money at all. Might be a problem that I'm bored with my lunch, therefore I'm going to have something different. It might be a problem, something has broken, I need to replace it. It might be a problem I need to grow faster, therefore I need something else to help me. But we always spend money to solve a problem or a perceived problem. So as we go through a change, there's new needs that need to be fulfilled. This change now, I think, there's a lot of situations around Christmas that people can have a look at. How can we help people who can't reach the people they'd normally reach at Christmas? Whether that's businesses who'd be normally saying an amazing thank you to their team, and this of all years, they'd be wanting to say that, but can they get them all together? No. Will they be able to get them all together by the end of the year? Doubtful. And are you going to wait to the 2nd of December to wait to see if you can get them all together? No, you need to be proactive as a leader of a business and have a plan for how you're going to do that. So can anybody here help them do that? How can we help people do this? And as we look at the consumers, they're going into a Christmas, it's going to be a different Christmas, that much is clear. We don't know who we'll be able to be with, how many we'll be able to with, how much travel we'll be able to do. But we do know it's going to be a different Christmas. And I can't imagine I'm the only one thinking about, okay, right, so what could we do differently to make it different but still good? So what new, I saw on a bit of John Lewis marketing just the other day, they've got a message out there about what new traditions can we create this Christmas, which I thought was a great way of positively thinking about this. So as a business, what new traditions can you help other people create, whether those are other businesses or other consumers? And then, so that's all in the opportunity area. And then externally, we've got some threats. So what are the threats? What could happen here? So there's a threat we don't get unlocked when we thought we did. There's a threat that, online might have taken a portion of our business forever. We're not going to get it back. There's a threat that there's all sorts of threats out there. But let's be honest, get them down, not be overly negative about them, but get them down. Because when you've listed your threats, then you can see, okay, what's my opportunity to deal with it? How can I do something different? What can I do differently to overcome that? Or how can I reduce that threat? Because a threat isn't happening, it's just the potential to happen. So once we've identified it, we've got the opportunity to prevent it from happening in many cases, or at least minimize the impact. So let's understand what are the threats and what can we do about them. So you've got a whole to-do list there. Now, do you think if you've got this information together, you've got it in your head, you've thought it through, is that going to enable you to demonstrate those 7 C's more powerfully? I'm pretty sure it is. You'll be calmer, you'll be able to exude that confidence, you'll be able to create some certainty because you can make some decisions around here about how you're going to go forward and either optimize these opportunities or minimize the threat. So do a SWOT analysis. And then a very simple tool is just to do a bit of reflection in how you as a leader, but you can also roll this out with your team. What do they as individuals need to do, or what do you as an organization need to do differently in terms of stop, starting, or continuing? So in terms of the context, think about compared to the spring, to our last lockdown, because it is different things are open. Have been able to continue, different season, different temperatures outside, all sorts of different things. So compared to last lockdown, what do you need to start, stop, or continue? And when you reflect, could you have done things differently if you'd started something earlier, or you'd stopped doing something earlier? What would, that could have made a difference? Then let's implement that this time. Even compared to last week. So last week we were open in our COVID rule of 6 scenario. This week we're now in lockdown. So compared to last week, what do you need to start, stop, and continue? Again, at home and in the business in particular. And compared to, this sounds a bit crazy, but I do still come across people who are still sort of somewhat operating and thinking that things are going to go back to what we talk about the new normal. I'm now talking about the old normal. The old normal back in this time last year. you know, compared to this time last year, actually not an unhelpful comparison. What were you doing last year? What needs to be different to how you're going to this year in terms of stop, start, and continue? So just create yourself a little table, not overly complex to do this. What are you going to stop doing that's no longer serving you, isn't helping? What are you going to start doing that's going to helping you take yourself forward? And absolutely, what are you going to continue doing? Things that you've been doing so far, maybe changes you've already made that are working and you're going to continue doing, and make sure you don't sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's amazing how often I find that things that have been working well have just sort of got forgotten about somehow along the line, and we stop doing. So what are you consciously going to keep doing? So that's my start, stop, even stop, start, continue. It doesn't really matter the order, just cover them all. And then finally, create a plan as to how this is all going to get implemented, because we have a lovely conversation and you've got lots of notes there by now, hopefully. We actually need to do something with it. So if you're running a 90-day action plan, fabulous, look at it and check, is that all still valid? Because things might need to be changed. What was a priority 2 months ago or even 1 month ago might not be a priority anymore. There's something different that needs to go in, because it's going to be more important to the success of your business in the next 4 weeks to do that than whatever was in your plan. If you didn't have a plan, make one. Make a 4-week plan to get through these 4 weeks. What are the things that are going to stand you either in good stead to get through this 4 weeks as well as possible, and or what can you do in these 4 weeks to accelerate out of lockdown in the fastest possible way? You know, when we come out of lockdown on the 2nd of December, we've got, what, 3 weeks till Christmas. Those are going to be a critical 3 weeks for a lot of people. So let's make sure we've got the plans in place for that, and then we're into January and a new year. So what needs to happen now to make that December, January really successful? So as you're looking at that, think about the financials. Let's be realistic. Plan your financials, forecast your financials for the next 3 months, for lockdown, for December and January. What does that realistically look like? What's the potential upside? And to achieve that realistic and upside scenarios, what needs to happen? What are the activities? What's the sales and marketing you need to be doing? You know, how can we get extra sales in the run up to Christmas than what we would have done? Is there a Christmas shopping menu, or come here, or tasting, or something to be done? Is there, you know, what else can we do to encourage that? Think about the team. What needs to be covered off with the team as they finish the year? Should you be, is it annual appraisal time? I've heard some people saying, I don't want to do an annual appraisal on Zoom. Well, I think if we don't do annual appraisals on Zoom, it might be next Christmas before we get one done. You know, some of these things, they don't need to be put off, and they are really important to people. So what needs to happen? Development planning. Great time to be development planning. If people are on furlough, they can still do training. So let's get some good plans together to enable them to be absolutely humming when we get open again. And then operationally, the guts of the business, what needs to be happening here. So cover off all those 4 areas in your action plan. You know, my perspective here is we are now certain about creating certain. I am now absolutely certain that we're going to be in this uncertain time for at least 6 months. So that's my mindset, is okay, we could be open, closed, lockdown, locked out, whatever it is. Family, you know, rule of 6, rule of 8, I don't know. I just think it's going to keep, whatever it is, it's just going to keep moving at least till April, May next year. So now we know, we've created certainty there. We know it's going to be in, out, shake it all about for that time. We can start thinking about, okay, so maybe I need a scenario plan. When it's doing this, I'm doing that. When it's here, I'm going to do this. And when it's, and then I just pick up the right approach depending on which scenario we're in. I've created certainty. I know what I'm going to do. It's either going to be A, B, or C. I don't know which one till I get there, but when I get there, I know exactly what I'll do. So this is where we can create certainty in an uncertain world if we put our mind to it. So let's get prepared for it. So let me draw a breath there and see what questions we have got. So yeah, do shout out, pop it in the chat box or just shout out. We've got enough to just shout out if you've got any questions on this.
Thank you very much. That was very inspiring and, you know, very straightforward as well. at the same time.
Good.
That was really interesting. I kept thinking, I'm afraid, of the government when you were talking about making decisions, and it's better to have a decision than no decision. But there's also a lot of kind of, oh, we're going this way and then we're going that way. But they have to do something, don't they? They can't just stand still. So
yes,
whether or not you think what's happening is right or not, you have to make a move somewhere. So it's and I don't think business is like, I mean, you can't just stand still. You have to do something. I think I'm very conscious of my team here feeling the pressure this time more than the first time.
Right.
And there's a certain element of, I wouldn't say, it's not apathy actually. It's something, tiredness. Just kind of feeling a little bit under par. So I need to try and enthuse them a bit. I mean, we are pretty open with each other about what's happening, because you're quite right, they all know before you say anything anyway, because they can see what's happening. We're only a small group, but I think it's, especially now we've gone back to a bit of remote working, we are keeping the offices open, but we're not open all the time. From the team's perspective, as far as the clients are concerned, we are open, because we'll pick up the phone and we'll be there when they need us. And I think those sorts of things, those sorts of messages are already in the to-do pipeline anyway. It's actually just about, I think this time it's going to be how we keep the team still motivated and feeling positive about things, and not feeling too kind of, oh, it's happening again, when's it going to happen, when's it going to stop? Because it's going to be like this for a while, so we just got to get used to it and make it as good as we can. And there's some really good things out there as well. There's really great things happening. It's interesting.
I think I've been through some changes in organizations, and somebody said, I can't wait till we just stop changing, and I'm like, sweetie, that's not going to happen. Well, we're not going to stop changing. We've got to get.
But it's about certainty. If you can be certain about, somebody said to me years and years ago that if you say something with conviction and you are certain, then it's actually much better than being indecisive about things. And you say, if it's wrong, well, then you say, okay, we made a mistake. Some of the best people we've worked with are people who've put the courage of their conviction behind what they do, and if it doesn't work, well, okay, so it didn't work this time, but we've learned from that, let's do it slightly differently. And that exactly, I think we need some of that at the moment going forwards. I think time doesn't stop, we are all going to move forward, so at some point things will have moved again. So I think that's exactly useful.
And I think part of that is having a kind of like candorful, I think I've made a word there up, having a conversation with candor with your team, saying, it is, this is a lockdown for 4 weeks, we could go to Green, we could come back, there's another lockdown for a bar break for 2 weeks, so this is going to keep going, so let's get under the skin of, and I know people are feeling weary, that there is a kind of weary warness, but it's right, okay, so what's creating that? Let's understand what's leading to that, and can we deal with some of that? Can we make some changes? Because we need to be robust to manage this for the next 6 months or so. It's not going away anytime soon.
What is slightly concerning me, as well as the sort of slight weariness, is that I've noticed I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get around this, but I noticed a kind of almost a bit of an unwillingness to comply. This is well, why is it really going to make any difference? And I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet, but it is in my mind that we need to do something to just change the mindset a bit, to
comply with current guidance,
with regulations, with lockdown regulations. It's I mean, in our courtyard today, everyone was here this morning picking up her last bits of stuff, and she's gone home to work home. Steve is working at home, John's working at home, Alan's working at home. So there's only me in the building, but in our courtyard, almost every building has all their car parking spaces taken. So people are still in at the moment. That may change next week, because it might be that they just feel starting on a Thursday is not a good time to start.
Yeah.
But it's kind of something I've noticed, that there's a bit of a kind of, well, is it really going to make any difference? I don't know how one gets around it. I need to have a think about how we keep people.
I think again, it comes back to focusing on what you can control. So you can control how your business responds. You can't control how the rest of the courtyard does. You can influence potentially if there's a communication method, but absolutely you can control for your business, and you can put that in the context of your values as a business and how you see it, and that you're, regardless of what anybody else is doing, this is our way, this is our approach, this is what we stand for, and we're going to, you know, take the high ground here. I do know other organisations where they said, actually, we have very few people in. The people who are in need to be in for operational reasons, or in fact mental health reasons. Some people just, you know, it's where you can work from home. Some people just can't work from home because they're in a bed sit or whatever, and everything else going on. And so I do know a number of organisations where they are actually planning to still have some people in, but it's for a genuine effectiveness of working
So
situation.
we won't close entirely, because we do need to come in at some points, because we can't do what we're doing at home. But I think I will probably, what I am going to do is offer the two people who I know struggle at home the opportunity to come in on a regulated sort of, so maybe they can come in when I'm upstairs, they can be downstairs, or vice versa.
Exactly. I think it's been really clear about that separation, about the you know, the washing hands, the sanitizing, etc. That's all absolutely rigorous.
And I think having the opportunity to come in if they feel they need almost to come into a bolt hole to get away from home to do something would be quite useful for them. Certainly for Elvan it will.
I think we have to be realistic about how effectively.
That's a takeaway, actually. That's a really good takeaway. Thank you for that. That's a bit, it was bothering me. So I don't need to bother. I can do it now.
You can do that. You're going to take control, create certainty.
You can have a bolt hole if you wish.
Yes. Managed under these ways, and we'll all be safe. Yes. Yeah. So do take, just to wrap up here, do take a look at your notes now. Just flick through what you've written down. Put a little star next to, you know, what are you going to do? What action are you going to take? I'm always keen that after I've done a webinar, you know, I don't want it to be a great inspiring hour and nothing else happens, because that will rub off by tomorrow. Yeah, pick up the highlighter.
Highlighter.
Yes, grab that highlighter. What are you actually going to do? And how are you going to work on your be? Back to that first slide about be times do. And if you haven't already had one of these, then I'm always happy to, you know, let's catch up, have a 30-minute pro bono coaching session, or we can do the more in-depth business health check review. Just look at your business, see what are those opportunities, do a bit of a brainstorm around what could you be doing at this stage. So just pop that in the chat box. We'll also send an email out with the feedback form where you can nominate one or other of those there. So without further ado, I think we're on the nose of 3 o'clock. So thank you for joining.
Thank you very much. I was just letting you go and pick up my daughter.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah, cool.
Take care.
Bye.